The birth of a superpower, how the United States was created. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered how the United States became a country? Today, America is a global superpower, but it didn't start that way. In fact, the story of America begins with a group of farmers, merchants, and ordinary people who decided to stand up against the most powerful empire in the world, Great Britain. It is a story of war, bravery, mistakes, and a fight for freedom. In this video, we are going to tell you the full story of how the USA was created, step by step. Before we dive into history, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Also, share this video with your friends who love history. It really helps our channel grow. Are you ready? Let's go back to the 1700s. Long before the United States was a country, it was a collection of British territories known as the 13 Colonies. These colonies were located on the east coast of North America. They included places like Virginia, Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania. For a long time, the people living there were happy. They considered themselves British citizens. They loved King George III. They drank British tea, read British books, and followed British laws. Life was good because the British government mostly left them alone. This was a policy called salutary neglect. Basically, as long as the colonies made money, the king didn't interfere. The colonies felt very free. But everything changed because of a war. In 1754, a major conflict started called the French and Indian War. This was a fight between Great Britain and France over who would control the land in North America. The British won the war in 1763, but there was a big problem. War is very, very expensive. Great Britain had spent a massive amount of money. The government was in deep debt. The king looked at the American colonies and said, "We spent this money to protect you, so you should help pay for it." This was the moment when the relationship between Britain and America started to fall apart. To pay off the debt, Britain started creating new taxes. First came the Sugar Act, then came the Stamp Act in 1765. This was a tax on all paper products, newspapers, legal documents, even playing cards. Everything cost more money. The American colonists were furious. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the principle. They had a famous slogan, "No taxation without representation." This meant they believed it was unfair to pay taxes if they couldn't vote in the British Parliament. They felt like they were being treated as second-class citizens. Tensions grew higher and higher. In 1770, a tragic event happened in Boston. A group of angry colonists threw rocks at British soldiers. The soldiers panicked and fired their guns. 5 Americans were killed. This became known as the Boston Massacre. Then, in 1773, came the Tea Act. The colonists had enough. On a cold night in December, a group of Americans boarded 3 British ships and smashed 342 chests of tea, throwing them into the ocean. This is called the Boston Tea Party. King George III was not amused. He was angry. To punish them, he closed the port of Boston and took away their power. He thought this would force the Americans to obey. Instead, it united them. The colonies realized they needed to work together. In April 1775, British soldiers marched towards Lexington and Concord to arrest rebel leaders. But American riders like Paul Revere rode through the night, shouting, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" When the British soldiers arrived, they faced a small group of farmers. No one knows who fired first, but a shot rang out. This is known as the shot heard round the world. The American Revolution had officially begun. At first, many Americans just wanted their rights, but soon they wanted freedom. On July 4, 1776, the colonies took a huge step. They adopted the Declaration of Independence. Written by Thomas Jefferson, it famously stated that all men are created equal and have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. With this document, they were a new country fighting for survival. But the war was not fair. On paper, Britain should have won easily. They had the best army in the world. The Americans, they had no money, no navy, and an army of farmers. Many soldiers didn't even have shoes, but they had George Washington. He wasn't just a general, he was a leader. The lowest point came in the winter of 1777 at Valley Forge. It was freezing cold. Thousands of soldiers died from hunger and disease, but Washington stayed with his men. He trained them. He kept their hope alive. The Americans needed a miracle, and they got one at the Battle of Saratoga. They captured an entire British army. This victory convinced France that America could win. France was Britain's enemy, so they sent money, ships, and soldiers to help. Without French help, the United States probably would not exist today. The war ended in 1781 at Yorktown. The British army was trapped. They surrendered. In 1783, Britain officially recognized the United States of America as an independent country. Winning the war was hard. Building a country was harder. At first, they created a weak government because they were afraid of kings. It failed. So, in 1787, leaders met to write the Constitution. They created a system with three branches: the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court. They designed checks and balances so no one person could become too powerful. They also added the Bill of Rights to guarantee freedom of speech and religion. George Washington became the first president in 1789. So, that is how the United States was born. It started with protests over tea, turned into a desperate war, and ended with a democracy. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up. Here's a question for you. Do you think the Americans could have won without France? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.